It's my very great pleasure to introduce you to my good friend Jane McGraw Teubner. Jane is an outstanding pastel artist. She's a master pastelist with the Pastel Society of America. She's had her work featured on the cover of Plein magazine in the Pastel Journal. You were also in the International Association of Pastel Societies.
Master Circle.
Master Circle. You know, she's had a DVD released several years ago.
About 10 years ago.
Is it really that long ago?
9 years ago.
She's been
Toughest thing I ever did.
she's been one of my painting buddies and traveling companions for quite a while now. So I think you're in for a treat.
Thanks for having me. I was a member here years ago because of Elaine.
Oh, because of me?
Yes, you told me to come down. This is when I worked at First Impressions.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And you said, oh, they're a real friendly group, just go join them. But I was 50 minutes away, 45 minutes away, so I think I belonged for about a year or two. And then just the drive got too much. So tonight, I will be doing this. This is Montauk. It shows a lot of the erosion on the dunes in Montauk. And I'll be working mostly from here because I don't like, photographs never come close to what you really want. And this is as close to real life as possible because I love to do plein air work. And I think that photographs don't come near what you can see when you're working with plein air. So that's my favorite way. Larry and I paint all the time, plein air. So this is working with a screen is a lot closer to life than what you see on TV. And I just got rid of it. All I have to do is touch it.
Get a 9-year.
There it goes. So I did a preliminary sketch because we have limited time. So I sketched it in with a little bit of a value study. And what I'm going to start doing is I start with an underpainting. And that's, I put the pastel on, I use pastel. You can use oils, watercolors, acrylics, gouache. But tonight I'll be using pastel with rubbing alcohol. And I use 90% here because it dries so fast. So I didn't have to bring a hair dryer. If I used turpenoid, then it usually takes at least like 10-15 minutes to dry. So this dries very fast.
Is that charcoal or what's
This is a pencil I use, a pastel pencil. I buy them, it's a pearl pencil, I buy them by the box. You get one, it's like number 720 or something.
Is that a B, Jane?
Is it what?
B grade?
No, it's a pastel pencil, so it's just a colored pencil. It's like a hard, it's about like this color. This is a new pastel, sort of the same color, but it's really purple. It's a purple color.
Okay.
I just use that to sketch it in. That will be gone by the time I put the underpainting on. But this is a guide. This is a map to put the colors in. And I put, I made my little palette here, and then I put those pastels aside because I have so many to pick from. I don't want to stand up here searching for a particular color. So when I'm home I do, but here, time constraint. I find doing a demo is closer to working plein air than when working in a studio because you're, for one thing, people are around. When you're outside painting, people are around looking at you. And you have to work quickly, because we have to be out here at 9 o'clock, I guess. So I'll start by doing the underpainting. This is UART paper. It's a sanded paper. It's 500 grit. They sell it in different grits. And I mounted it on a piece of foam core, because UART kind of tends to buckle a bit.
Is 500 considered coarse? Is that like the middle?
800's fine, then they sell 600, 500, 400, and then they sell like, now I think they're selling like 320 or something. So that's the coarser one is around the 300, 800's fine, so this is in the middle. So I'm going to start with some brighter colors here. I don't want to put too much on because it'll get a little bit gummy.
Do you use the side of the chalk?
Mostly I use the side of the chalk, but I use but the point, the side. For this part, I'll be using the side. And this is very loose. It won't look, it'll look very messy by the time I finish with this. And I use all different kinds of pastels. They're pretty blue. Some of them are, this is a very soft one, but by this time I don't know what it is.
See the difference going on.
Yeah, well, this is, the orange one was a new pastel, and this is, could be like a,
Unison or something.
it could be just a little indentation in this paper.
Do you travel with this whole box when you do?
This is mostly what I work with even at home.
Oh.
You know, I don't have a big, I teach in my studio, so I don't have like a big setup that I can leave. People come in. Lighter green.
Jane, do you always work in an upright
Yes.
position? Yeah, so the dust can drop in.
Yeah, and I have, I keep this in my bag because I meet some friends and we work in Oyster Bay at a civic center. So we don't want to get it dirty, so I always have this to catch it. And I use that aluminum foil at home too. I couldn't work laying flat.
No.
It's a little strange in here with the light. The light on here is a little different than the light up here. So if it's seeing colors, it's a little tough. So now I'm going to do the underpainting. A soft brush. And I'll be doing the lighter colors first.
That's the alcohol?
What is this?
This is rubbing alcohol,
Oh.
90%. It's a
Is it special that you just buy in the pharmacy?
CVS.
And 90%, what is the other?
Spray?
70,
I mean,
70% alcohol.
and was
Well,
it, water?
That's, it's got 30% water in it. This only has 10% water in it. It's the, just plain old rubbing alcohol. It's finished. So this gives a nice color underneath. I like the orange under here. That sand is kind of orangey. And that'll show through when I put other colors on there.
Was there a tone in the alcohol? Oh, so it's
It's
just,
getting just dirty.
because it's coming out sandy. looking.
Well, no, that, I had sandy pastel in there.
Oh, okay, okay.
Oh. Wow, that's amazing.
But you can use I can use water with this,
Look at that.
terpenoid,
Really?
Wow.
but both of those take too long to dry. This will be dry really quickly.
Can you use that on any paper, or does it have to be?
No, you can't use it on any, you can't use alcohol on Canson. I don't use it on Pastel mat. Use some, Pastel mat's a little weird. Have you used it?
No.
Watercolor paper, you put
Watercolor paper you can, but then it doesn't have that much of a tooth.
juice though, now.
If you put something on top of it. This is the fun part, where you really can't make mistakes.
That's true. Does that alcohol kind of keep it set in place?
Yes, it almost like, it like turns it into watercolor, because it's pigment, so it's just, you're adding a liquid to the pigment, so it's.
Wow.
I've used watercolor as an underpainting, but I can never get it dark enough. So this I can get dark, and it'll dry a little lighter. And sometimes you get these nice drippy things here, which, that you get with turpentine a lot easier than
Yeah.
with the, because this dries so fast.
You could use alcohol with graphite, too.
Yeah.
And
I wonder if I
spread
could
it.
do it with the charcoal.
It's, I think it almost dissolves it a little.
Yeah.
Graphite, you could make graphite paper. Yeah.
That experiment.
Yes.
Are you doing complementary colors or just basic? Or local?
No, I'm not thinking.
Not doing that?
No, I wanted to just get it like a really bright orange under here, and then when I put the
Yeah.
sand color on top, there's some of that orange that shows through. Because I remember being out there, and it was a little bit brighter than what my photo is, even the iPad photo. And I don't have to stick to the colors that are
All
on
right, all right.
faces you. This I don't. And I like to get a little brush stroke into whatever, the direction I want it to go in. These are vertical, this is at an angle. These are grass things. So that's probably just about dry right now. It's dry so fast.
Good.
Except where well, no, right here it's not. That'll dry in a few minutes.
It's magic.
Now, you can't use this on any kind of paper,
You
right?
can use alcohol on a lot of the UArt, there's lots of paper out there that you can use it on, just certain things. If it has a lot of like rag in it, it'll buckle a bit. This has only 10% water in it, but if you put it on canson paper, it'll probably
won't buckle.
buckle. It will,
It will?
canson will.
Oh.
But there's so many papers that they put out now. that-
What paper are you using now?
I'm using UArt, UART, and it's sanded paper.
Finely sanded.
Yeah. Is that what you use?
Yeah.
I buy it by the big sheet,
That's
and
right.
I cut it down. It's, to me, it's not worth buying the shorter one, the smaller one.
How would the pastel go over oil?
You use it very thinly.
The oil.
It's like a
would be-
wash.
But isn't it shiny and slick?
No,
It's
you
just a
you
wash.
dissolve it,
Oh,
yeah, it's a
okay.
wash. So, and it goes, as long as you don't put it on thick,
Okay.
you know, it dissolves pretty quickly. Let's see. This is still wet where I just did it. I'll let this dry for a minute, or I can start with the sky.
When you mount that on the foam core, what do you use to
I
mount
used
it?
something called Graphics, Grafix double tack. It's a sheet, you peel both sides, you put it on one, and then you just can't use a whole lot of turpentine on that because it soaks through and then it dissolves the sticky stuff, which I found out on a big painting, that all of a sudden I had buckles in the middle because I put a lot of turpentine on it for a wash. So I learned my lesson. All right, now, I usually like to I start from the back to the front, because I like getting a feeling of distance right away, that the painting has depth. And I just find that, for me, it's just a more common sense way of approaching it. And it kind of directs me in what to do. I work all over, but basically it's back to front. Distance, and then I can play around with whatever is in the foreground and make that either busier or higher contrast or something. But I like to get that depth in the painting. Any other questions?
That's the rest of the
Is that all?
Is that 90%?
Dissolves it.
We had one of those.
90%.
Oh, for me, you go for the painting.
I was seeing Doug, so I have a present, so I got a glass,
Got it.
you know?
So it's almost the same color, just a little bit different.
Yeah, it works. I have to get used to it.
I don't blend either. I don't blend with my fingers.
No?
No.
Hopefully it'll come back.
I was just at I went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art and went behind the scenes in the Pastel department and we had a little lecture with a conservator. And she said, don't blend the pastels, don't put glass on top of the pastels because they're crystals and they catch the light.
Oh.
So it's an interesting day at the Met.
What would you use if you don't use glass?
I use glass, yes, you just don't put the glass next to it.
Oh, okay.
You put a spacer,
Space.
Yeah, you
so
wouldn't use
it's not
plastic.
touching.
That would electrify it.
Yeah, but acrylic is electrified, has a charge to it. And I like to put a little, a difference in the sky. I have a little bit of a difference here, I can see it, it's a little purple here, a little lighter. So I don't like to have my whole sky being one solid color. I'm gonna put a little green in here. And maybe a little purple. don't want to get a too high contrast here. Even though I have a high contrast here, I'd rather it be a little bit muted. And later on, right now I'm filling in, this is like the blocking in stage, where people do oil painting, they block in. This is a block in stage, and then later on I'll go, if I want to put any kind of, this is not a wave, it's my printer. If I wanted to put any darks out here, I'd do that later on. That's that for now. But right now, what I want to get is, I want to get this feeling that this is behind these. And now having it cool colors and warm colors helps a lot. But I also don't want to have this, I don't want to have it coming forward too much, and I want to use green, so. Green and a little blue. Make this look like it's far away. Pale.
Yes.
And this isn't white, this is a yellow color. I don't usually use white. I think I have one in here, but I don't use it that often. And I don't use black. I don't even have a black one in here. This is a real pale green. Get this foamy look here without getting into too much detail. A little shadow under here, a little dark. Same thing out here. Just so that looks like it's far away and just sitting there kind of quietly. And I can see a little bit of sand through here, so I'm going to, a little sand. That's it for that part, I'm just gonna leave that alone for now. I divided them a little too evenly though. Should have been like that. Make this a little bigger. A little bit more of an angle. Okay, that's it for that now. Now I want to get this shadow here, and I have to work on, I'll be working on this and this at the same time, so I get the right contrast. Now I can see all kinds of colors in this shadow. I can see blue in here, a red, a reflection. This would probably be getting, I can't really see it that much, a little bit on my screen here, where it would be getting a reflection off the other side of this dune here. Put some blue on here. And blue here, because this is further away, so a little. This has some ridges in it. Now I want to make sure that I show some of this orange showing through. So this is kind of dull, this color. Interesting shadows here.
What do you do if you put too much color in a place?
Brush it off.
With what?
This brush is a little soft, usually just a bristle brush.
Uh-huh.
And it just, the color stays, but you get the thickness of the
You
pastel.
never use your fingers.
No. Well, I wouldn't, I'd have to scratch it off, but the brush takes it off, especially like a stiff bristle brush
Uh-huh.
will take it off. So that you, being that this is a sanded surface, it'll still have the color, the pigment will be there, but the
Yeah.
thickness of this will be gone.
Right.
And then you have like I have lots of pastel in this little trough here,
Oh.
instead of having it on the floor.
Is this the easel you use when you do plein air?
Yes. I've tried a couple different setups, and this, it's not great. I mean, there's nothing that could, you know. I know that Heilman has a thing that, this is an old box, that I don't even have those attachments, but it doesn't come with it.
Do you have a table that you have with, to?
No, I don't have it with me, but it's called the Easel Buddy or something, or the
Yeah.
Butler, Easel Butler.
Yeah.
It's nice.
And it's like a long thing that with sticks.
Clips on
It does not. It doesn't work that well with this foam.
It's
cutting
a
into
light
the
easel.
foam, but it works enough. It works. Some light colors in here. this photo was probably taken towards midday, maybe a little later. So I have overhead sun, which, I mean, I have this nice dramatic shadow in here, but it's really, maybe it's over here. It would be nicer if I had more dramatic shadows. It is what it is. When you're outside, you just have to deal with whatever is there. Also on this, I can go, if I don't like something, you were asking about correcting or getting rid of it, I can go over this with the alcohol again.
Oh,
You know, so if it's something needs correcting, well, it'll just smush it around and kind of dull it up, and then I can start.
Can you
blot
Make mud.
Make
and-
mud.
Yeah, can you blot it out?
Well, not
paper
really,
towel?
you could brush this off, but,
Does it return the tooth to the paper?
yeah, the alcohol would return the tooth if I brushed enough of it off with
Oh,
the
okay.
brush.
Yeah, that's what you need the tooth with it,
Yeah.
pastel, right?
It's gotta hold that stuff on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You spray it and fix it.
Get a little bit glow in there.
that's beautiful. Oh, that's great.
Already it looks
That
great.
just makes it come alive.
Well, yeah, the little subtle,
What color is that?
what this is.
Like rose, like a rose color.
No, it's like an orange.
Orangey?
Yeah.
Coral.
Looks rose over there with the
Well,
purple.
up there, I guess it does,
Yeah.
because what's next to it. It's really kind of
It's beautiful.
orange.
Let's see, it's like a mauve.
Are you trying for a very light touch, or is it just that the paper's holding a lot?
The paper's holding a lot, but that's the way I don't have a real heavy touch, but sometimes I do. Most of the time I have a light touch. I've gone up there with like a pastel and broken it. They'll just corrupt it. Do that? You really start digging in and the thing crumbles. But I have a fairly light touch. I want to make this a little bit more dramatic than I have here. I've looked at this, there's a little hill that goes down here that's eroded. So I have different planes here that, when you first look at it, it just looks like this is all the same. But this does come down here. So this is like a, I guess that's where the water rushes. It's cutting into that dune. If you walk around Montauk, those dunes, they're really collapsing. There it is. I know it's in there. This is like a big gash in the dune here. It's really kind of sad when you go out there, you see those, they're so beautiful in the condition that they're in. But I don't know how long they've been I want this to have like scarring that's there. And not just look like pretty dunes. Without getting too busy. Now this, I'm just kind of making up the color here.
What are you using for your dog's purpose?
Yes, and a dark green. And a little bit, so I don't want that harsh an edge here. This is what I do instead of rub it, like just lightly scumble over it
Scumble.
instead of.
And the hook is green.
Yeah, that's color.
See better.
You can move closer.
Anyone who sits here, just sees your back. Can you see? Yes, but. Sit in front of you.
This is coming alive.
Look at that. Yeah, it does, yeah.
These are photographs she's using.
That's what. Well, it's the same thing on the other places. It's a different thing.
The lighting is exciting.
I thought that was the photograph.
I want to take
What
some
she's
of these
looking at.
colors and put it in the green.
Yeah.
So that I can see some, over here, a little bit of like color that picks this up, so I'm gonna use the orange and put it over here. It'll get toned down, but. It's dark. This grass is growing kind of down the dune here. it back a little. Get this plain change here. Very quiet group.
Do you use rounded or squared pastels? Do you have
They-
certain
they-
ones for drawing more?
No, no. Well, sometimes the new pastels I use for drawing,
Yeah.
but
What's this square?
they start out square. Like this was a square. This is a,
That's not
Earth-
white.
the earth. Blue earth.
That's
Blue
not
earth.
white.
Yeah, it was square. Not square anymore.
Do you have an air filter in your studio?
Yes.
Have
Everything's still covered with dust.
to. Absolutely. Absolutely. You wear a mask?
Cat litter.
No, but I do, now I always wear
Glove.
gloves, at least a glove on this hand.
Mhm.
This one's just as dirty.
Yeah.
But I can only have the glove on one hand. Even when I'm outside in the heat, I just stick like paper towels in here to,
No,
So
it
it sweats.
terribly, yeah.
I know a lot of oil painters that use gloves too now.
I do, yeah.
But they're toxic, they're pigments, so,
Yeah.
and with pastels, they're airborne. I never blow on the pastels either. ever.
Oh, yeah, that goes right up your nose.
Well, it gets all over.
Oh.
Your tablet.
Yeah. Look, this, I have a lot down here. Maybe it doesn't look like there's that much, but there's a lot in there.
Some people collect that and make.
I do, I make them, yeah, I have some that I made.
That's a whole new painting.
If you were to work on a table.
This is no,
with
like
the
not gray, like
Gray.
blue gray, or green gray.
gets really, so I can't do it.
No, you can't do it.
What brands do you use for soft?
What?
What brands are you using for soft?
That's a French.
Thompson,
Even gets on the mat.
All of them, so
I don't have that many Rembrandts. Rembrandts are very hard.
yeah.
So, I use these, you know, like this gives you a nice sharp edge if I have to, like here, if I want to make some
You don't want to jar it or lose the whole can.
some little sticks here, I have a nice sharp edge.
That's a new
So I-
pastel.
A new pastel. But then my new pastels tend to get
It changes the color.
round also.
What is your favorite brand?
Yeah.
I don't know, I like them all. It depends upon what I'm doing. I love the Blue Earth, that's, you know, I'd like to buy myself a whole set of, but a little pricey. Like this little one here, I think each one of these, they're about $3 for just this
Oh,
one
what's that?
thing.
What kind?
Blue Earth they're called.
Oh,
So you get, and this is the size, it's just gotten rounded, but that's as long as it
Oh, I
is.
think, oh, wow.
It's at least 3, maybe more than 3.
how much do you get out of it?
You get a lot. I work small, so, but if you're working really big, this would be gone in, you know, if you had a lot of sand or something, it would be gone in one painting. But oil paints are expensive too.
Oh, yeah.
And if you apply it thickly, you go through your paints faster.
What do you like about the pigmentation?
It's like a creamy feel. Like this one has, you can hear it, it's a harder, rough.
We can see the difference between when you did the sky and you came in.
Just
Yeah,
make
it's
them
a
blaze
One
down
or the other.
My sky's kind of crooked.
Smooth.
Go downhill.
It covers well.
Like that, you can't even hear this. This is, I think might be a Great American. And they're nice too. When I first started pastels, they didn't have all these papers or brands. You've got the new pastel, Ed Canson,
Rembrandt.
Ed Wallace,
Oh,
which no longer
Yeah.
exists. That was the premier paper.
yeah.
Let's see. Well, this isn't, something here isn't working. We'll work over here. This lighter. So mostly I've been using the side of the pastel, but for down here, you can barely see it on this. There's sticks and stuff, so I use a sharp edge. I don't draw, if I wanted to do grass, I don't do this, I do this. So it's an uneven line, which you really can't get if you draw it. You just have to kind of land and get out. So that would be down here. I'm not finished with this yet, but just as a, so if I wanted to put these little,
Similar branches.
Yeah.
so. It makes a straight line. And another way of doing that with pastel is if I, let's see, if I wanted to do like a branch or something that was not straight, you can roll the pastel and you get a nice uneven line.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah.
So that I saw on YouTube. So I don't want that here, but that's a way to draw branches without over rendering.
Jane, do you scrape it off to let the under painting show through the undercolor?
No, I want to, this is showing through now, you just don't put too much on.
Like with grass, you could scrape it and bring out the,
No, you can't do that really,
no?
no. Like if let's see, like this,
You blend it.
it doesn't,
No.
not like oil paint or,
No.
it's great, no. It's there, it's not coming off. It'd be nice if you could scrape it.
Yeah, I just got the right moment.
I want a soft edge here and I don't want to rub it, so I'm just going to, and I'll probably work the blue again in here. So I can see through that a little bit, even if I can't on my photo. So that it's not a, I don't want a hard edge there. Thing with this, just a light touch to bring that out a bit. Same color, I just put that. I found I've been getting tighter in the studio than I want to be. So, I don't know whether anybody's gone. You're not tight, it's yours, sir.
Okay.
Did you say tighter?
Tighter, yes. I thought when you got older, you loosened up.
What the hell?
I find now when I'm in the studio, right now I spend more time sitting, looking at my paintings than I do painting. So it's a much slower process. Put some shadow in there. I don't like these little, I think they're ugly, so I'm not putting them in. I think that wouldn't make sense here. But I have to put something here because it's boring. So, some different color.
It's okay.
I think when you work outside, you're a lot freer than when you're in a studio. You're under time constraints, things are changing, so you have to be more adaptable. Fingers there. except that color over there. Heavy in the orange.
Do you ever work in oil?
Occasionally.
Beautifully.
Terrible at it. I did one little painting recently, a 5x7, and it came out okay, but, you know, I have a thing with this, you know, like a communication, and I don't have it with oils.
Yeah.
It's like there's like a path here. And I don't have that, I have a wall with oils.
Yeah, I have a wall that comes down.
But you know what, you see
Don't
the color,
believe it.
you see the color in front of you.
Yeah, and
With
it's,
the oil, you gotta,
I don't,
Make
and
the
it's
color.
also, this is in my hand, and that's on
Yeah,
end
it's
of a
useful.
brush, it's,
More practical
I
feel.
can
and-
see.
When I was at the Metropolitan Museum, we asked the woman if she uses gloves to handle this artwork, this Mary Cassatt that she had. There was a Rubens there that was, no, they don't. She said because it's very technical, that they have to have their fingers be sensitive to what they're doing. So, and I think maybe that's part of why I do I have this thing with the pastel that I don't have with the oils. I don't know. This looks like a blob here.
Oil. In Maine, back in August, 5x7. And she went home with the pastel from her
He's bragging, my little painting up there.
Oh, Larry.
All right, let's do this little slope and this rock bed. How much time, what, my time?
What do I do?
8:15.
Oh, okay.
You
so-
need to take a break at all, Jane?
No, I just need a little more.
When you work outside, do you ever take a picture of what you're doing just in case you don't
I
get it
do,
done
but
or
I
want to
never,
go back
I
and look
never
at it?
go back to doing it.
No.
I've been in plein air competitions and I usually don't ever touch the painting. Once I leave it,
That's it.
I don't go
I
back
was just
to it.
wondering if it was something you wanted to refer to.
I don't, no. I might do another painting of that photo,
Okay.
but I don't usually, once I do something outside, it's done.
Because of
I
the lighting.
rarely touch it after.
And how long would that take, 2 hours? Is that what we're planning?
2, yeah, sometimes 3, but no more than 3. If you take
Usually about this
The
size.
lighting would be so different, you know.
It is, well, what you do is, you block in, and then you stick with it. You don't chase the light. You have to, even though it changes, once you block it in, you have to,
That's it.
that's it. And then by the time after 2 hours, you're mostly going to remember.
Do you ever just think about it, you know, like I want to highlight here or shadow that just, you know, if this is here, then that should be there, or...
Well, I blocked in with the underpaintings at the beginning, that's what I stick with. Like where the like this, say if I was there and the sun was going that way, the shadows would be all the way down here. So you can't just keep changing, because if you change that, you have to change everything. Because everything's got to have the same source of light,
Right,
same angle. Yeah, you have to work fast. That's why this is more like
Thank you.
plein air painting than painting in your studio. Because it's time constraints and.
So what are you working on in your studio, for photos, from memory, models?
Right now I'm doing like, on Tuesdays I work from a still life. I set up a still life. And then the other days it's photos, or I've been trying to get outside. I was up in Maine in August for a week painting. That was nice.
You do a lot of sunken meadow too.
I do sunken meadow. I have a lot of sunken meadow paintings. Rocks in here. I like this little gully here, so I'm gonna make it a little bit more pronounced than it actually is. Also, with the pastels, I know what each one looks like. And I know I'm gonna look for this one, still has a little piece of paper on it, it's a unison. I know what this one, and I know what the color is, I know the shape of it. I don't know if anybody that does pastels, like, you get to know these things. Like this one was not out here, and I knew it would, and I knew exactly what shape it was.
You say it's like your children.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, but the worst thing is I have my favorites and it's gone away.
Oh, yeah,
And I don't know what
some.
brand it is or where
I
I
know,
got
I
it.
have this green that I love, but there it is.
Where was it from?
When I first started, I took a workshop with Albert Handel, and he said, you cut a little piece off and you put it in the box, that way you can match it, but if you have 10 brands, I don't know what this is. You can go to Dakota Pastel out in Washington, and you can go into their candy store, they say, and you can try to match your, you can find something, or you can send them a shard, and they will try to match it for you.
Very good.
I've never done that,
They could do
but
a weight test.
$49.95. What were you cleaning that? You were cleaning that in some
oh, this is cornmeal.
cornmeal?
You shake them up and they really clean. You have to close them because it creates dust, but You can just like, even like dip it in and swirl it around.
It doesn't stick
Cleans
to
it,
pastel.
cleans it. It's like a
Cornmeal?
cornmeal.
But doesn't that stick to the pastel in your
No.
cooking with cornmeal? No?
No, it's,
Get that
as long as you
texture.
don't add water to it.
You ever use rice?
No, rice is too big. Too,
Right.
yeah.
Couscous? Well, they have the smaller ones.
Couscous.
Quinoa?
Quinoa.
Oatmeal?
I think people do use oatmeal. I don't, but the cornmeal works fine, so.
Yes. Grits, you use grits.
Yes.
That's right.
Probably you can use grits too.
Cream of wheat would be good.
At breakfast.
Steel cut oatmeal.
That's better.
Yeah, well, pastels, you can't blend them, like to mix two together.
You put one on top of the other, like,
And then-
and then it,
yeah.
no, I don't rub.
Ah,
so-
You don't rub, so.
No, like this has orange and purple on it, blue, so they're crystals that they sit on the surface, so that you can see through them. I don't know, you probably can't see back there, but this does have very subtle colors in it. Like there's some purple here, the orange under painting is showing through. Now, if I rub that, I'd lose that.
Mud.
It would just be, it would be dull.
Oh, you lose
So like you just,
transparency.
like this has blue on it, if I rub that to blend it, it wouldn't have that luminosity that it has.
But you wouldn't be mixing together color, you have the color in.
Right, you don't
You
mix.
to
You
get
have to
green,
have
you have to,
green, right.
you never have the right.
Right, that's why pastel artists have hundreds of colors,
And that one more.
Every
or
little-
thousands of colors. Now I need this, I mean, this foreground is still, this is something weird that's going on there. I'm happy with this, I like that the dramatic shadow. So I have to figure out this little gully here.
Box with compartments, so you always put your blues.
Now I want to put some rocks here without getting too busy, which could happen real easy.
Look at that. Rocks. They're just appearing.
Bless you.
That wasn't me. This is good.
I have green around. I'm afraid to put the green in. I'll have to brush it out. Well, I think I'm just about done for now, and now I could start like fussing with it, so I'm not going to quit.
Okay.
So you can take a look at it, it's probably a lot more, there's a lot of things I could do to this, but I'm gonna stop right now and finish it at home.
Okay.
I like the rocks coming down the mountain.
Yeah, just a couple of them.
But you use the color, I mean, it's outstanding.
Oh, yeah.
You've taken basically somewhat of a dull picture.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
well, I
The
like to
life,
put color
yeah,
in
the color,
where,
yeah, it's
well,
like-
you do that with faces too, I mean, you put greens and purples, and, you know, in flesh color, so.
That's quite nice.
Very
beautiful.
Beautiful. Not quite finished,
Do you do anything like put fixative or
but, no, I
anything to?
just put it under glass with spacers.
Okay.
If you put fixative on it, it changes the color.
Do you use museum glass or you just use?
I use museum.
And how do you get museum glass, like online?
I have a man that delivers to my house.
Do you do your own framing?
Yes. But, I got his name is George, I got his name from the Art League of Long Island. I don't think they have his name posted anymore, but he delivers, he works in Northport, and I live in East Northport, so he delivers to my house.
Oh, that's
I
nice.
usually order
A batch of them.
quite a bit, so it comes, and I pay in cash.
Yeah.
Because he's probably half the price of what a framing is.
You can't use plexiglass.
No, but there are a lot of shows that you ship, that they only want plexiglass.
But plexiglass, no, you just gotta put this.
Like the
And it also, like large paintings.
It's more expensive. One area too much and the colors just start getting muddy.
They get muddy and then you can brush them off, but it doesn't happen that much on this paint, but you can get locked out. Especially with reds, you could get locked out, where you just stand, all you do is make a scratch. You know, there's so much pastel on them. on the paper, hands-on happens, or watercolor paper will be happening, but supposedly this, they say, in 25 layers, which I don't think that's. I've never gotten that I needed 25 layers on
Did
it.
you ever make your sanding board?
I do, gesso, yes, I do. I like that, but it's very textural, it's, sometimes it bites you.
Yeah. The living text clear has a kind of a tune to it.
Yeah. There's a gel medium that you can buy for pastel that you can get gold or something.
Do you work on anything tone?
Yes.
Oh, tiny.
Well, this had a yellow tone, but
Yeah.
I gray. I like to do an underpainting, so I tone my own.
Yeah,
So, but I have,
leave that tone.
I was
show.
going to do this tonight on bright reddish brown paper. And
You
my
chickened
husband
out.
said, don't do that. But that would be no underpainting, and it shows through, and it's a rougher look than this. This is a smooth look. And I like the rougher look. I like seeing the little flecks of color underneath it. And it's a totally different feel. To me, it looks more like pastel. Sometimes this can look like an oil
I
painting.
was gonna say, yeah.
So especially if you put museum glass on it and it's hung right, you can't see the glass and it can look just like an oil painting. So that's when people say, your painting's so nice, it looks like an oil painting.
Yeah, right.
Well, I want them to say, your painting, to an oil painter, and say, it's so good, it looks like a pastel.
Photograph.
Oh, that's all.
Too bad it'll
It's
crack.
beautiful, it looks like a photograph.
Yeah.
All right, so
Nice
thank you
writing.
very much.
Take a photo.